Good afternoon, everybody. I know it's depends which clock you look at, what time it is, but so on average it's just about 2 o'clock, I think. But before we actually start into the business of the DG First Management Committee for today, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce you to one of the DG First Building and Maintenance Services apprentices. We have with us today Shane Steenson, who's an electrician, and is in his second year apprenticeship. Shane submitted his work portfolio and attended an interview process at the APSE Housing and Scottish Building Apprentice of the Year Awards 2014. That was in Peebles last month. He was also a runner-up in the awards for second year apprentice, which is an excellent achievement for Shane and a great reward for DG First and Building Services. This highlights the passion and the commitment to the apprenticeship programme our service has. It's worth noting that the person who won the overall award was the person who recently won the national award down in Birmingham. So I think if we could maybe do a little presentation, we have some items here. So just take a wee moment out of our normal procedure to get on with this. Okay, thanks for that. I think it's important we recognise these things. Sorry, Marion.
Chair, if you don't mind, can I just come in and what you've just done there?
Of course, yeah.
I was very fortunate enough to be out and met a lot of the boys, and part of what I was doing in Stranraer through Wallace. And what an excellent job they're doing. It's really great to see they're getting recognition for this, and I think it's something we should make sure happens quite regular, so that we can get it in the public domain, so we can what these boys are doing and that, because they get judged unfairly a lot of the time, and I think it's up to us to make sure that stops and they're judged on what they're doing and know what folk think they're doing.
Here and well said, thank you. The next thing I'd like to mention is the STARS Team COSLA Awards, and this is Securing a Workforce for the Future category. I would ask if members would be able to note and congratulate the STARS team within DG First for their success in achieving their Silver Award for Dumfries and Galloway Council. Unfortunately, on the night, we didn't pick up the Gold Award, but this committee is asked to recognise the great achievement of a Silver for this new team who continue to develop this service to achieve the best outcomes for the people of Dumfries and Galloway, as well as investing in and supporting a workforce of the future in partnership with the NHS and Scottish colleges. Are we happy to do that? Thank you. With regards to the DG First Committee business today, we'll note there's 2 reports within the papers. There's no finance reports due to the very close proximity to the end of the current financial year. However, I'll ask the Acting Head of Department and our Finance Officer to give a brief update verbally on the revenue and trading positions at the meeting. I've also asked the Head of Department to provide some operational information on the Dock Park and also take us through a step-by-step walk of the complaints handling process within DG First. This will probably happen, well, this will happen in AOCB after the 2 business items. Following on from a DG First extended management team meeting on the 13th of February, in which the Chief Executive attended, I felt it would be useful for a couple of the DG First services to present what's called a 5-minute service blogs. which will allow members to meet some of the service managers and hear firsthand current issues, challenges and successes from a very service-specific viewpoint. So again, that'll hand under AOCB. With that, if we can go on to Sederunt and apologies, please.
Good afternoon. I have 8 members present, and we have apologies from Councillors Yen, Peacock and Wiper.
Thank you. And are there any declarations of interest?
None to note.
We move on then to the minute of the meeting of the 28th of January. Happy to agree? Agreed. And item 4, ground maintenance budget savings proposals. So following on from full council on the 6th of February, DG First have been developing the savings options as detailed in Savings Template 29. Officers have concluded the process, and I'll ask the Head of Department and Fraser Marshall, Neighbourhood Services, Principal Officer, to take us through the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. If I can, just a quick run through with the members. DG First were set the challenge to identify a substantial saving within the grounds maintenance section. This process has taken us a bit of time, and the information was presented to full council under the savings template. Fraser Marshall and his team have been working through the identified areas and have went around all the 4 operational areas to meet with members to discuss the options. And what I propose, members, is that we would you've obviously got the Appendix 1, which was handed out yesterday by email, and you've got today. Apologies for the lateness. There was obviously with the time of doing the rounds from the area committee or the area basis, we've had to pull all this together. The information's there. Fraser and ourselves are more than happy to go through what was discussed and the feedback from the elected members in the respective areas. So the report is before you, Chair, and we're happy to take any questions that the members may have based on the information that's been presented.
Fraser, would you like to add anything to that?
No, just won't take any questions, I think.
Councillor Carruthers.
Thanks so much, Chairman. Just it's in regards to Appendix 1. I don't have that. I haven't seen sight of it yet. Just with being caught up with different things yesterday, right up till this morning, so I haven't actually seen that. It's not contained within the papers. I wonder if we do have available a spare copy. And just on the back of that as well, at the same time when I'm asking that, then if I can get a copy of that, it's in regards to I suppose there's a wee bit of confusion in regards to the commission and deliverance side. There's £200,000 savings. We're looking to take a savings here. I know thanks very much. I know it's been put forward in regards to option 29, previously agreed with the full council, but could you just give me the detail how that's actually worked? If we're commissioning ourselves, I thought that would lay within Plan and Environment Services or now the EEI committee. How does that actually work in regards to the 200k saving?
Chair, through you, the DG First currently, there is no commission for grounds maintenance at this time. So the commission, for the want of a term, sits within DG First for the grass cutting and these activities that we're discussing here. There are commissions for the burial ground service, which obviously some of this links into, but the overall grounds maintenance, grass cutting, the commission has not, sits with ourselves, is not been fully developed to sit between our colleagues in planning and environment as yet, and that's something that is being developed.
Councillor Martin.
It's just on the consultations we had with ward members, Fraser. As I say, I know myself and Colin Smith and the other councillors in our ward actually, two of the areas that you had identified as not going to be cut, they were actually sitting in the middle of the estate surrounded by houses. We identified the other area leading up to the Nick as that could possibly be left in much the same square area as the is the ones in like some Mark Barnett, like, have we got any, what's got to happen with them?
Yeah, it's in the appendix there. We're quite happy to take that on board and make the adjustments accordingly. Yeah, no problem.
Councillor Hislop first.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend when the fact I was actually at a funeral. With regard to the 3 cuts per year, is that cut and lift? That was the first one. It's noticeable, I think it'll be through the fact that most of the small cemeteries will be rural, so it's another hit at rural areas in this region. One of the things that worries me is we've got churchyards there rather than just cemeteries, where it's not just interments, you have weddings that go on through the churchyard where there might be photos. Is there anything going to be done to cover that? When are the 3 cuts going to be done? You know how the growing season is greater in the spring rather than the back end, so you've got to plan them so that you have different areas with that as well. And just another one, I noticed that Barnett Road's one that's in the middle of housing, maybe we could take the nick and the ones that we're removing and actually achieve a bigger saving.
Through you, Chair. Yes, it will be a cut and lie. When the cutting will be done, what we have set into place with the teams is we are very mindful of this process of the budgetary saving. We are being very geared towards cutting at the appropriate time. So the way we've been describing it, we're not going to wait until it's yawn high. We're going to cut it at the optimum time to ensure that it doesn't look like hay lying in the field, but it has to be done in an appropriate time to maintain the cemetery in a dignified way. So we've been working with the supervisory staff to encourage them to monitor, look at and deal with it at the appropriate time, because we're very conscious that the growing season throughout Dumfries and Galloway is very different. Solway Coast will grow very quickly. The higher grounds, you're up in your use area, can be a completely different setup, and we will be monitoring this and cutting at the appropriate time to minimise the disruption. In relation to bits of ground where photographs and other bits and pieces are done for funerals, within the budgetary saving there is a discretionary sum of money which we will monitor and utilise if agreed with to treat these areas of ground to make sure that if there's a funeral in place or a large wedding, that the site is appropriate. That's what we're saying. We realise that this is a very difficult item to take forward, but we are mindful that we're trying to work with both the elected members and the communities to ensure that it's maintained to a standard that we can accept and work with people to ensure that the disruption's not as bad as perhaps people are perceiving.
Councillor Dryburgh first. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Just a couple of points. I'm just looking at the Nistdale feed, the Carthagena Place, Dumfries, she's cutting very wet ground. In the real hope that we get a long summer and dry weather and grass starts growing again, how is that going to be done? But the other thing is, I see that the cost savings are on metres squared rather as actual pounds, pence and things like that. I just want to know if that is actually going to give you a fair and potential savings that you actually require. I'm not sure how it mounts up pounds and pence wise. That's the only thing I'm concerned about.
Through you, Chair, I'll answer how we came to the figures. The model we used was around a theoretical, if you want to call it, process of how much an individual operative can cut. So we took the global area that we maintain and worked that back based around a theoretical figure of square meterage cutting. What we didn't want to do, and it's very difficult, and I think you're alluding to it, it's very difficult to put an individual price on a little piece of ground or how much it costs. That can vary. It's not like going into Tesco's and picking a tin of beans up at 30 pence. You know it's going to be 30 pence. There's numerous factors that can be built into that. So we've worked it back on a cutting regime to identify the required saving base then in relation to the equivalent full-time seasonal staff basis, which gave us our figure of saving. So what we felt was appropriate was to put a square meterage in to identify an area rather than a pound, because putting a pound, shillings and pence in there probably would be unrealistic and probably convey the wrong information to members. And it would be more appropriate to identify the square meterage that would not be treated. And that was conveyed on the plans that were circulated at the time of the discussions in the 4 areas. In relation to the operational matter of the wet area, I'll allow my erstwhile colleague here to give his opinion.
Sorry, can you maybe repeat the question?
It was Carthagena Place you've got down in this deal. It's cease cutting very wet ground in the hope that we're going to have a long dry summer and grass starts growing again. Can we cut that grass again?
No, I think the reason that was identified was that operationally it's quite difficult to get onto it, so we identified that area as an area that would be better as one of the savings, but I think it's also one of the ones that we've identified another area now, so it will be on the cutting regime, if that makes sense.
Councillor Collins.
Thanks, Chair. I was relaxed somewhat when Ronnie started talking pounds, shillings and pence. I was looking for feet and inches. Anyway, it was really clarification around the policy that I was looking for in terms of where in the housing estates in particular we have narrow roads with narrow strips of grass and then footpaths. Is there a policy now where there's resurfacing taking place in these roads that they will be brought up to a standard in terms of the width, thereby doing away with the narrow strips of grass and reducing therefore the maintenance and cuts through our housing estates in those instances?
Through you, Chair, I think the answer I would say to that is that fundamentally there's no change in the policy with regards to any grass strips that are there. Some of those areas that sit within some of the housing schemes that may well belong to DGHP, Lorburn Housing, Urban Housing, etc., there may be strips of ground. If we go in to do surfacing, our roads team will basically go in and surface the road. We're not looking to take away those bits of verge, but if there's specific areas that we can discuss, I'm more than happy to discuss them with Councillor Collins and see what those areas are, and we can give a full briefing back to you on those matters.
Thanks very much. My understanding was that policy did sit currently, and I appreciate what you're saying about RSLs and so on and so forth. But there is a safety issue insofar as these roads are concerned, and where particularly there is parking taking place there, access for ambulances, fire service and so on is restricted, which causes them to go up onto the pavements. But yes, there are specific instances that I can cite, and I'm happy to speak about that offline.
Take Councillor Mail first. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. It's Appendix 2, and it's the second one down, Land's End Riverbank at Langham. This is the area where we have quite substantial Japanese knotweed. And as at the minute we're trying to get EE&I to actually have a look at this issue and maybe even get a presentation forward for members to understand how serious this issue is across Dumfries and Galloway of invasive plants. My fear here is that by cutting 1 metre, we may start to cut small plants and spread it again. Now, there are other areas in Langham already where on road verges, this stuff is growing, and for the last 2 or 3 years it has been cut, and you can see it spreading along. So I don't know how we handle this but it certainly is something I think we need to be well aware of, and I would like to have a discussion how we handle this piece of land, because it needs to be cut, but that there's massive danger. There's 200 metres of this stuff growing along this riverbank, 6-7 feet deep and 7 feet high. And you can see the smaller plants starting to come up every year, and you just need to touch this stuff, move a leaf, move a little bit, and you create another plant. So it could even be getting into our machinery and accidentally being spread elsewhere in the region. I think this is serious enough that we really must ask EE and I to have a discussion about this, get a presentation from likes of the Galloway Rivers Trust, so that we can actually form a policy working with them to try and eradicate these plants from our region. And I think there is a chance through Europe next year for a lot of money to be available, and I think probably a massive grant for in Dumfries and Galloway getting towards £1 million, working with the two river trusts that exist, Annan and the Galloway one. So I would ask from this committee again if we could ask for that discussion to take place, because wherever these type of things are, we touch them, they spread, and we really need to be more clever about it, because we are spreading them when we cut places where they exist.
Thanks, Councillor Mail. I think you've raised a serious issue, and I'm sure. Yep, is that okay to pick that up? Councillor Carruthers again.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks for letting me back in. I suppose a few questions have arisen through the debate. Is there any compulsory redundancies here? I take it not, but what is the workforce shed? I would imagine there was some here to get this saving in the first place. Some of these I see are in private ownership. At least the church itself lies within the churchyard. Private ownership. Is there any possibility of some kind of flexible working agreement between the owners and maybe some maintenance? Maybe not. Maybe that has to be rolled up. But a question I feel should be asked. I think we've set aside is about 60k as flexibility money. How can that apply in certain circumstances? And I'm looking at in the Arndale-Eskdale area, particularly Annan's been hit quite dramatically. Haven't worked the exact figures because I've just received this, but we've got Newton Park, River Walk, Annan, and Everhome, where it looks as if it's close to near £100,000, nearly half the saving in Annan itself. So, I mean, I just wonder how can this be applied? Maybe I'm wrong there, but at square metres. Well, I suppose coming back to that, I mean, when I read the purpose of the report is a report the members here at the grounds maintenance proposed savings of 200k. There is an indicative figure there, so I was working to that as a financial sum, but then a lot of figures, volumes or square metres came on the back of that. But I mean, I imagine it's 200k, that's a saving. So if that's square metres, well, it would be good to understand this easier if there's pounds and pence included as well. But Annan looks as if it's being absolutely hammered when I look at this. The rural areas as well, I'm thinking of some of my own ward, I'm being parochial here because I just picked up on this. You've got Dalton and such like, where another place, I think it's Moosehole maybe there as well, where you've actually got some of them are church ownership. So there might be a possibility of collective work in there. So just to get some answers on that, please.
Through you, Chair. There is no compulsory redundancies. This is all being managed through the non-filling of vacancies, through non-use of seasonal staff to deliver the service. In relation to the areas, as I was saying earlier, it was more appropriate because we're building the cost around non-filling of posts, which is a salary, if you want to call it. We worked it back about the output of an operative to cut the grass. So it's been worked back the way to identify what we need to save. If you look within Annandale and Eskdale, as you're saying, it's actually 37,000 square metres that we're not going to be treating. And in relation to the other areas, it's obviously Nistale's got the largest chunk of area that's been taken out of that. So I can understand looking at pounds, shillings and pence, but again, it comes back down to to put a price on little packages of land because of different times of year, the growing season, everything else. As I say, it's not like going and picking up something off a shelf. There are different costs, because if your grounds maintenance is running late because of a severe wet summer, the grass is longer, it's not just a simple just saying every time you're there cutting with one person, there may be next to no grass, or the grass is 6 to 8 inches long. So it was more appropriate to prepare the areas and identify the areas, show it on the maps to allow the members to make the decisions on the proposed areas and whether they were appropriate within those areas. And I do realise some members could make due to other business, but it was certainly done with the intent to minimise, as far as is reasonably practical, the grass cutting across the individual areas and keep it to if you want to call it the pain, to a minimum.
Okay, thanks very much. So I'll maybe come back to you in a different venue in regards to the actual chance of collective working between private owners and church. I'm okay to come back to that. But in regards to just because I'm clarity on, because what you're saying is, because what I picked up when I read the Everhome, and say for easy, it says 75,705 is the current area, and the area saved is 11,300. I took that as being the area that was now to be cut, but you're saying that's roughly 15% shaved off. So the saved area, what we won't cut now of the 75,000 is 11,000, about 11,500 square metres, puts it more into context. And there's been no compulsory redundancies, and as far as I take it, there's been through a negotiated or an agreement process went through. There must be a reduction in some men's working weeks or women. That must be the case.
Through you again, Chair. The year on year we employ seasonal staff. So what we've done, we've looked at the establishment that we have of our own employees, the seasonal staff, the certain staff have sought via voluntary retirements, where a vacancy, natural wastage, where a person has left and moved on to a new job. All these posts have been looked at to see whether there is an operational need to replace it and have that back on the books. So that process has been done. There is no change to the establishment or to the core hours of the employees that are on our books. We've not tampered or modified anything like that. This is just down to where a vacancy or where we previously had a seasonal member of staff. In the great scheme of things, if we've had 10 before in one area, that may be down to 7, and it's been done in that way. And we've managed the resource to achieve those savings and deliver the cuts that are going to be required across the service. And if I can, Chair, I didn't answer Councillor Crother's question with regards to the churchyards. The churches that sit within our sites, the church itself will be the asset of the Church of Scotland. The ground round about it we maintain. So the immediate areas around churches, we've been very mindful that those areas will be treated. It's the burial grounds and other open space that we've identified won't be cut. So congregations going into, in my own village, Dalton Church, the small part outside would still be done, but the older cemetery at the back is part of the identified saving, so it wouldn't be done. If that clarifies the...
Thank you. And Councillor Martin, you went back in?
Thanks, Chair. As I say, listen to the concerns in that, in what's going to happen there. Like, as I say, the concerns, and I think it's got to be monitored really closely what's happening. I was just wondering whether at our July meeting we could have an interim report of either verbal or that to let us give us any update on how this policy is working.
Happy to do that, Chair. This is very much a DG First committee, and it's very much a committee that needs to know the operational practices that are going on there, and we'd be more than happy to feed back to you any operational issues, difficulties, or even concerns that are coming back from the public, so that members are aware of the challenges that we have.
That's great, thank you. Just one question on obviously there's consultation comments, Appendix 3, and it's really just to get a sense of how they'll actually get fed back into the identified areas, etc., for each of for Annandale, Eskdale, Nithsdale, Stewart and Wigton. So how that gets included as it would have been in Appendix 2, I suppose. And also just on a wee bit of clarification, obviously one of the Wigton feedbacks was the aspects of the £60,000, if this could be split, and obviously that's not what we're looking at here, but just about how area committees could take advantage if they wanted to actually take action on other cuts that they specifically wanted for their area.
Obviously, once the committee has made its decision, I'm sure Fraser's team will feed back to all the members so they have the appropriate information so that members will have details of the areas of grass, etc., that are going to be treated. In relation to the £60,000, that discretionary element is really, the way I would classify it is it is a little pot of flexibility if in some of the sites where we have moved to a 3 cut regime, that if there is a funeral or if there is an event, a wedding or something like that, within that appropriate cemetery or space, that we have a bit of flexibility, we can deal with that, because again it comes back to we're very mindful that at the time of interment we have to be, the council has to act in an appropriate way, and we will endeavour to make sure that those sites are treated in that way. In relation to how an area committee, if they were so wished, if they wish to target additional work, we would be more than happy to work with the area committees to provide a cost for, say, 2 seasonal operatives, a van with all the necessary kit, and then work with that area committee if there's particular areas that they wished to have a different standard or regime of maintenance, that we could work with them to allow them to achieve their aims based around additional funding that they may have from their discretionary pot. So again, my teams are more than happy to work with the area committees to see how that can work, and again work with other groups if they come along looking to do additional maintenance.
Thank you. And finally, Councillor Collins.
Thanks, Chair. Just on that last point, now my understanding is that there's £65,000 pot of flexibility, and that's for the service to use their discretion on. It's not there as a bidding war for area committee, so I would look to avoid any interpretation in that regard.
Sorry, Councillor Collins, that was my intention. That is there. It's a discretionary pot for DG First to manage the site. That's not in for discussion with the area committees. This is if an area committee, through their discretionary funding, they wish to spend some of their allotted money to manage maybe 2, 3, 4 particular cemeteries. If they wish to have that dealt with, we would be more than happy to provide a costing for a couple of seasonal operatives, vehicles, etc., to deal with those areas and work it that way.
Thank you.
Councillor Collins, could you switch your microphone off, please? Councillor Dryburgh, thank you.
Again, I'll put my armed forces champion here on. There may be some of these cemeteries with war memorials in, and obviously the 4th of August is going to be pretty important this year with the start of the commemorations. We just want to make sure that, obviously, looking at the people that may be coming into the area and commemorating and that we'll have that sorted out as well.
I think with that then, if we're able to go to the recommendations, 2.1, cemeteries throughout Dumfries and Galloway with 2% or less annual uptake have their maintenance reduced to 3 cuts per annum as per Appendix 1. And 2.2, a reduction in the maintenance or cessation of maintenance of several areas of open space throughout Dumfries and Galloway as per Appendix 2, and if we can include the feedback. Councillor Mail, sorry.
Yeah, Chair, I'm going to wait till you're finished because I would like to see something in there about the invasive species. The invasive species.
We'll get onto that.
Okay.
And as per Appendix 2, with the addition of, if you maybe want to clarify the notes you've taken so far on that, thanks.
In relation to Appendix 2, we've agreed to ask the EE&I Committee for presentation on eradicating plants such as Japanese knotweed.
Chair, sorry, it's not enough. What we need also to do is make sure our staff do not cut this stuff anywhere, because the minute they touch it, they're spreading it. It needs to be catalogued and reported, and it's not. It probably isn't just. It's Himalayan balsam. There's 3 or 4 of them at the minute. Giant hogweed, Japanese knotweed, that are really spreading across this region at an alarming rate. And it really is, where we come across them in grass verges, etc., they need to be logged, catalogued, and not cut. And I don't know how we deal with the area, but it really is getting quite serious. And I see it round about Langham now as a very serious issue on the river banks and on the road verges.
Okay, so if we can phrase it somehow to to assure that we will work with P&E's countryside officer to develop an appropriate strategy.
But our staff need to be able to recognise what this is, because the minute you cut it, you've created another plant. It's as serious as that.
Chair, certainly take on Councillor Mail's comments, and I think I'd be more than happy, and I'm sure Fraser will be, with the appropriate teams in the areas. We'll identify and work with our colleagues in P&E these areas and take on board your concerns about cutting, and we'll build that into our arrangements, and we will have the appropriate toolbox talks with the crews so that they're aware of the issues and the potential spread of these species by cutting. I'll certainly take it up with Alistair Speedy within P&E so that we can certainly look at this in a robust way for you.
Yeah, I think one of the other things to be included is the report back to July committee in terms of how things are progressing with what we decide upon today as well. Okay, and is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
No further comments.
Councillor Carruthers.
Thanks very much, Chair. It was in regards to, I mean, I would have thought just pick back to Dennis's. I think it's a relevant point in regards to the working practices of the men, but you'd have thought that probably would have been there anyways. It should be, I would imagine, trained to that level with a pickup on in any invasive species. And you got to make it a recommendation of 2.3 or whatever, how you got to put it into the report, because I think it's important we do get a further report back on how this saving, how it's panning out, so to speak, but also taking into consideration the extra money that's been set aside, how that has been applied, if it's been applied in these certain circumstances. We spoke about 60 or 65k that's for operational decisions. So I wonder if that could be included within the report that comes back in July, please.
So if we're so minded then at 2.3, that the report comes back to the July committee or as soon as practical, which would include how the discretionary element of that sort of contingency fund, if you like, is being used. I don't know if that's appropriate, if you'd like to.
In regards to what Councillor Martin said, it was more about the report coming back, how this actual savings being implemented, and what I would just like to know, if it's okay with the rest of the members of the whole committee, the management committee in that regard, is how we've got that. It's been mentioned 2 or 3 occasions, the extra £60,000. That's it's like it was agreed through the budget process in certain times of pressure that it's almost like intervention money. And if this has been applied, and if it has been applied, to what degree through this saving?
Right, I suppose it's not extra money as such, but it's just built into as part of the savings. I don't know if you want to expand on that.
Yeah, it's there. Should we need to? In all honesty, I would hope that we would be managed the budget that appropriately, that we don't actually have to venture into using that. It's just there as it says, a contingency should we need to use that, and we would be speaking with our colleagues in finance and our finance officer to utilise that. But I think in the great scheme of things, we would be trying to manage our budgets appropriately and not necessitate having to use that as a matter of regular course. It would be more in the extreme rather than the norm.
So can you summarise 2.2 and 2.3 then, just for clarity?
Just for clarity, recommendations are: members agree that a reduction in the cessation of maintenance of several areas of open space throughout Dumfries and Galloway as per Appendix 2, and new recommendation 2.3 that a further report goes to the July committee to include how the discretionary element of the contingency fund is used.
And I'm not sure if it should be a recommendation or an action point that we discuss with P&E in terms of how the toolbox talks, etc., in relation to Japanese. Okay, so that would be an operational thing, but obviously that can be fed back to you. Are we happy to agree the recommendations on that basis? Okay, thank you. Item 5 is a review of road maintenance operations, footway surface treatments. This report is to provide information in detail to members on the current operational practices in relation to surface treatments on the Council's footways and cycleways across the region. Mike Fox from DG First Road Service will take us through his report, and if we could also note 2.2 of the recommendations should read, note the revised working practices as detailed in paragraphs 3.9 to 3.19. Okay, I'll just hand over to Mike. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chair. The report in front of you, members, is actually the fourth in a series of reports relating to road maintenance operations and a review of how we actually undertake these operations. The detail of the report, rather than go through the main detail of the report, but what effectively we have done here is look at how we carry out our current operations on the ground. We've looked at ways of how we can actually achieve efficiency savings, both cost and operational savings on the ground. And similar to our approach with carriageway surface treatments, we've actually homed in to provide potentially 3 options which we think are the best options to take the process forward in the future. The recommendations are effectively to, as we've detailed, is to note the revised working practices as we've noted 3.9 to 3.19, and also to recommend to EEI committee the same approach to material selection. And we've also detailed that we are looking to delay the aids to movement aspect of the review, because what we've actually encountered as part of this process is that aids to movement is becoming a significantly larger item and activity to probably to detail the efficiencies, because we're finding they are actually quite significant because of the type of activities that this actually covers. So that's why we're looking to delay that committee report until May this year.
Thank you. Are there any questions from members? Councillor Carruthers.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Chairman, and thanks very much for the clarification in regards to 2.2. I think when I read this first, it does come across as a one-size-fits-all, but I understand, I mean, the council at the end of the day are the custodians. We end up, doesn't matter what's built and developed, what's in there already, we end up maintaining it, and it comes down to us. But it's, just for clarity, when I'm reading this, for what I'm reading, it's showing that we're laying asphalt on pavements. Is that correct? Because if that is, first thing that came out of my mind, if that is the case, I don't want to rubble on too long in case it's not, was obviously the smooth surface. It's more polished than a straightforward tarmac macadam. Certainly has a much longer lifespan. I mean, that was the first thing. It's quite almost slippy, especially in the winter. Would that be the case? And then when you've already picked up in the report, if you were to lay a lot of that, you'd need a machine, and difficult, I would imagine, to get a spreading type machine for a pavement. Maybe not. Maybe be straightforward. Certainly if it's potholes, I think it'd be more than manageable. And in regards to 3.6, conservation and planning was what came into my mind. How will we overcome that? Is that something that's a real issue? Is that a cost burden to the council as it stands when we're putting in granite sets, Caithness and such like, rather than a straightforward asphalt and such like, or block paving or whatever it may be? I think when you look at this, you read that the potential savings and ongoing maintenance savings that are there as time goes on, it looks absolutely bang on, but it looks spot on, I should say. But when you actually drill into a wee bit, you think, is this a wee bit too much one size fits all? But understand the whole concept behind it and agree with it in principle.
Just on the first issue you raised regarding the specific materials, in Appendix 2, the bottom line, if you look at the actual cost per square metre, the asphalt concrete, which in old terms is old tar macadam, is a cheaper option. And in normal circumstances, that would be our default material for footways. I say it doesn't fit every situation, but it fits most situations. The comment about the asphalt, again, the point is noted that it can have particular issues in winter, and that's why we tend not to use that material very much at all, unless it is a specific request at a specific location. The aspect about what you term conservation materials, we're starting to see, one or two schemes where these particular type of materials are used. There's a high cost to the materials, but what we're finding, certainly so far, is that they seem to be very robust, that there's not a lot of maintenance issues. And we're seeing that right across Scotland. It's not just something that we're seeing in Dumfries and Galloway. And so far, some schemes have been in place maybe 5, maybe longer. And we certainly haven't had any maintenance issues so far that would cause us any concerns.
Let you come back, Councillor Carruthers.
Thanks so much. No, thanks for that clarity in regards to that. I mean, when I was reading, I've been picking up wrong. I think we're moving more away from that traditional type of material, you could say, in as far as for the historical reasons being granite sets, Caithness. I thought we were trying to move away from that in conservation areas, but you're saying that's still a fine. It's a material that we'd use, and in the long term, it's almost like a spend safe, I suppose. It has got a lot longer lifespan. I thought with the way we're looking at this, we're actually looking to move away from that, so that's certainly my misunderstanding. And did you say, as far as pavements are concerned, we'd still be using, I've just misunderstood this when I'm reading it, I think, a tar-based material, so it would be non-slip, so to speak, or would the basic be an asphalt material finish?
Our default position is normally asphalt concrete, which in old money is bitumen macadam, which is more open graded as opposed to the asphalt. And that's our default sort of position, if there are no conservation issues or any planning issues.
Thank you. Councillor Dryborough.
Thanks, yeah. Maybe just getting to the hub of the matter. I mean, you're looking here at reducing it to 3 types of material for pathways and having the savings through that, which I think is the right way, and I agree with Ian on that particular. Does this mean that we can cover more pathways with the funding that we've actually got? Because obviously there's been a lot of areas where pathways haven't been done over a number of years, and they're probably coming up to the 35-year, 25-year, whatever it is. Are we going to be able to cover more with the budgets that we've got if we reduce to the 3 different ways?
I think one of the things that we've tried to flag up through reducing the number of materials that we're actually using is that we're finding that, and this is been recognised across Scotland as well, is that where you do this, that you actually, it affects the price that you actually pay for the material, because quarries are not being forced to be able to supply 30 different materials, it's maybe 3 or 4. So there is a likelihood that this will provide some sort of saving for us. The bottom line is, until we actually put this fully into practice, I can't say definitively that will be the case, but we certainly hope that will be the case.
Councillor Hislop.
Me looking to be the cheapskate again, maybe. Why are we looking at 3 when clearly the modular surfaces one in the future is going to cost us 128, which is 3.5 times as expensive as the rest? Surely we should be looking to recommend to EE and I that it's one of the first 2, which the lifetime costs are cheaper. And one of the biggest complaints, I think, I know I've heard Councillor Martin on about it, is the fact that when you come up the high street and you get onto the paving stones, they're either loose or wobbling and people go over their ankles. So surely we should try and get that out of the problem as well.
I think the aspect about modular paving covers a wide variety of issues. It covers everything from granite sets to Caithness flags to typical concrete blockwork paving. So the price that you see in there is a middle ground effectively. So you have typical blockwork paving at the lower end, which and you have your Caithness, which is really at the high end. So it just depends on what particular site that you're actually dealing with, depending on what material you'll end up using.
With that then, are we happy to go to recommendations? Okay, 2.1, to note the outcome of the review, the associated efficiencies, and detailed in the whole life cycle assessments is detailed in Appendix 2. Agreed? Okay, and 2.2, note the revised working practices as detailed in paragraphs 3.9 to 3.19. Agree to recommend to the Economy, Environment and Infrastructure Committee the same approach to materials and selections as detailed in paras, will that be 3.9 to 3.20, be adopted for construction, consents and new works commissioned by the Council. And finally, 2.4, agree the revised timescale for reporting the aids to movement element of the review as per paragraph 3.3. Okay, thank you. As I indicated at the start, we'll get a verbal update now on the financial position. So if I hand over initially to Ronnie and then you can take it from there. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. As members will realise, we're rapidly heading towards the end of the current financial year, and it wasn't felt that it was in the best interest of our service, I suppose, to bring forward the full reports while they're being finalised. We brought our finance officer out of a dark room at the moment to give her some daylight, but in simple context at this time, in relation to our revenue activities, we are profiling that we will have a slight underspend, and our trading services will return a small surplus as previously proposed at and has been reported to this committee throughout the year. So a bit vague, but again, Chair, we're happy to pick up any questions you may have just now, but it's certainly, I'm sure Caroline will confirm this at this time, that we seem to be on track for those two positions.
Thank you. Caroline, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think Ronnie has fully covered. There are some slight overspends, particularly refuse collection, which has been forecast and identified in previous things. However, underspends in other areas are fully covering that at the moment. Obviously, lots can change in DG first in a few weeks, but I don't think so this year.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from members? Councillor Hislop.
Just with regard to the slight underspend in the revenue budget, I take it that will be through efficiencies rather than through a reduction in work that should have been done.
Correct.
Councillor Dryburgh.
Yeah, just can I get a quick reminder how much that was again? If I remember right, it was the underspend. It was about £7,000, was it? And then the surplus was, I can't remember that. So that's one.
The surplus at the previous committee was £89,000, and it's looking as if it's going to be approximately on track to at least do that. Maybe a bit more if the trunk roads is.
Councillor Carruthers.
Well, just a quick one, Chair. So, you mentioned the waste management, and that's where the slight overspend might come from. Has the new implementation had any effect on that at all? The new waste management system that we rolled out?
No, Chair. That's forthcoming in the new financial year with the rollout of zero waste. So, at the present time, that's not been a factor within the figures.
Well, thank you very much for that. That was relatively painless. Now if we move on to the Dock Park presentation. Members have previously received a presentation on Dock Park regeneration, so it was probably worth the service bringing forward an update in advance of the opening. And Fraser's going to walk us through the presentation and we can ask some questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that. As you're aware, there's been a major investment in Dock Park this year, which has been badly needed. Just to run through the sort of capital works that have been going on, starting at the entrance, we've got a new entrance, a new car park area. The cafe has been upgraded at the moment. Then we've got a brand new play area beyond that, then a small events area beyond that. Then the bandstand's getting refurbished. Beyond that, we have the putting greens with the pavilion, which has been again completely refurbished, and a brand new crazy golf course, which is up to championship standards. Kelly's viewpoint has been, or the Kelly's shelter has been replaced with Kelly's viewpoint, and we have a large events area beyond that as well. Some of the before and after pictures that you may remember, the old toilet block at the entrance wasn't exactly an inviting entrance to a park. We now have sandstone walls and a proper entrance into the park. There's the entrance that have Dock Park written on it, and that's illuminated at night as well. The play area, again, the play area before was certainly past its sell-by date. It is now a fit-for-purpose play area. We have a toddlers area which is in front of the cafe, so you can sit and keep an eye on your toddlers and whatnot, and it's all fully enclosed, and the new equipment is inclusive and fit for purpose. The pavilion, again, before the pavilion was a wee bit dilapidated and needed a refurbishment, and it will be staffed there now. There will be a park keeper within there, and the Dock Park Development Officer will be based in there, and that's where they'll sell the tickets for the putting and whatnot as well. Crazy golf, again, before there was, you may remember, it certainly wasn't fit for purpose and it's not been running for a number of years. We now have a brand new bespoke course that is a permanent fixture there, and it's up to a championship standard as well. So that's what I was Kelly's viewpoint. I couldn't get a picture of Kelly's shelter before, primarily because it kept getting burned down. And the decision was taken to put the viewpoint, which is overlooking the river there, and that's illuminated at night as well. Also, the whole park is now covered with CCTV, so that should deter any future antisocial behaviour. So the ongoing management and maintenance, it's now all coming under DG First. Before it was very disjointed. There's now a working group as well with CCS that are doing the events, and we're all meeting on a regular basis, and it's a coordinated approach. The cafe, that is now in-house. Kate's team are managing that and staffing that up, and that will be open for the Easter weekend. Staffing, as I said, there is a Dock Park Development Officer, and there will be a park keeper based in the park on a full-time basis. There's also a Friends of the Dock Park group, which are a very proactive group, and there'll be volunteer input from them as well. And as I've said, the entire park is covered by CCTV, so it's improved security and hopefully deter some of the antisocial behaviour. Some of the timelines, the launch events are over the Easter weekend. There's a whole range of activities. All the events within the park will be free at that time, including the putting, etc. That will all be free over that fortnight period. There's an official opening, which will be a royal opening, on the 19th of May. There's a big event, the Youth Summit, on the 6th to 9th of June, and then Youth Beats on the 9th of August. Really welcome any questions.
Councillor Dryburgh.
I didn't realise you can get a championship standard crazy golf course, and I'm just wondering when the next championship is going to be.
I didn't realise there was one to take this on either, but it's been designed to that standard, so the option is there.
Councillor Hislop.
Chair, it's when you get to my time of age, this comes into consideration. Toilets, are they in the actual cafe? Is there sufficient in there? Because, well, my weans have grown up and getting by the age and needing to run to the toilets, but I'm getting to the stage where I'm needing to consider where I have to be. Another thing, is it true the rumour that Donald Trump wanted to invest in this championship golf course?
No truth to that rumour at all, unfortunately. The toilets are in the pavilion. There are 2 toilets within the pavilion.
Councillor Martin.
Can I get it happen here, Fraser? As I say, I was walked down the dock park last week, and to be honest, I think it's going to be finished in time for the opening. As I say, I know there were areas still to be seeded, and the car park was in a pretty, even though it was supposed to be finished, it was in a pretty disgraceful state with potholes, etc. And that. So we've got to be sure that it's got to be, as I say, especially if we've got the youth summit in June, it's got to be, as I say, the seeding, for the seeding, etc.
Chair, I've been in discussions with Alistair Speedy, our colleagues in P&E, with regards to this. With the contract was for seeding, but as members are very aware, we've had a pretty horrendous weather, so turfing will be done. So the aesthetics of the park, the areas where, if you want to call it, all the brown soil is very visible, will be turfed, and that has been arranged, and they will be starting on site this week, all being well. And there is further patching works that our colleagues within the DG First Roads team that will be tackling down the bottom, close towards where the access into the pizzeria, and a section as you come in off the traffic lights. So that will all be done. We are then looking, there is another process to be done after the initial opening, if you want to call it, it's heritage surfacing that's going down to demark and fully finish the car parking area. So in a word, yes, it will be done.
As I say, you're saying there about the pathways. As I say, when I was in the other day, as I say, some of the pathways had been completely resurfaced, etc., and other ruins had been left, and it just looked like a half-done job at times.
The pathways down the sides, they are again being looked at to see what additional funding can be found to deal with that, because some of that was engineered out of the original project. But our primary point of action is to ensure that the aesthetics of green is there, and to have the car park in an appropriate finished position in advance of the opening. And if we can tackle these other areas of dips and hollows on the pathways, they will be actioned as accordingly. And we're working with our colleagues in P&E to maximise that.
Right. Well, thanks very much, Fraser. I noticed there's a Dock Park launch events booklet, which I don't know if there's a few copies lying about available for members, but I'm sure we'll receive the appropriate invitations for any such events. With that, the next item up is the complaints process, and this is where James McDowell and the business manager for DG First will provide a case study on a complaint from a point of receipt to conclusion, and hopefully allow fellow members to see the process from all perspectives.
Good afternoon, everyone. Give you a wee bit of a breakdown on complaints handling within DG First. I thought I would start with just showing the difference that took place around about the 1st of April 2013 with regards to the corporate complaints handling procedure. If you recall, before the 1st of April 2013, DG Council had a 3-stage process that we went through. This changed after the 1st of April and went on to, as it says there clearly, a 2-stage. Some of the statistics we had up to 2013, April last year, I've got here, and I'll just hopefully go through them with you. Complaints, DG First had 78 out of 367, which was 21% complaints come through DG First. On the compliment side, because we do receive a good number of compliments, it was 40%, so that was 42 out of a total of 106 for Dumfries and Galloway Council. So again, it's showing a good positive picture there. I'll move on to I thought it was ideal as well just to put up a definition of a complaint. You know, it says there it's an expression of dissatisfaction by one or more members of the public about our action. There are 5 key drivers to customer satisfaction. The first one is staff attitude. You know, we're looking for friendly, polite, sympathetic staff to deal with whatever the complaint is. We're looking for information to be accurate. That's number 2 there. The delivery, we're looking for the delivery of the outcome as promised. You know, if we say we're going to deliver something, we deliver it to the right timescales. And again, professionalism, we're looking for professional staff to act on the council's behalf. We've got some governance issues there with dealing with complaints. You know, heads of service are heavily involved there with regards to carrying out investigations. We've got trained staff who carry out our investigations, particularly stage 2 investigations, which can be quite detailed, you know, and take a bit of time, a bit of talking to the actual people involved. So we like to, you know, have a bit of governance there with regards to that. As it says, the investigating officers will only be appointed for stage investigations, not front-line resolutions. I'll put in a couple of complaint examples, just to talk through. This one here, as it says, the 20th of January this year, we received a complaint regarding the roadworks and traffic management on this place there. Dumfries causing traffic disruption was the main complaint. So it says there that, you know, that's the first thing we like to work through with the person that's complained. What is the point of complaint? And in this case, it was the traffic disruption. So we treated that as a stage 1 complaint, where we're looking to have a resolution within 5 working days. And what I've said there is as well, a response letter was sent out on the 27th of January to the complainant, thanking them for bringing this to attention and giving an explanation on the traffic management plan for the works round about this place. We always include within our letters a satisfaction form for the complainant to complete and return back to us. On this occasion, it was returned as satisfied with the response that they received. The second complaint, 9th of January this year, and it's when their failure to uplift the domestic bin. Generally, if that had been on one occasion, that would have been an operational matter that we would have dealt with in-house. But on this occasion, it was on 3 occasions that it had been uplifted in 3 separate weeks. So again, it's treated as a stage 1 complaint, where, you know, we look to resolve that as quick as possible. Again, within the 5 working days, a letter was sent out to the complainant, firstly apologising for the breakdown in service and giving the reason for the service failure, which was due to vehicle breakdowns. The service also gave assurances to the complainant the bin would be uplifted on the scheduled day from there on, which, again, a satisfaction form was sent, returned as satisfied. Third one was a compliment. I thought I would add in, and this was a compliment that we received on the 29th of January this year from a head teacher at Lochside Primary regarding the completion of building works. And I think I didn't bring the letter along with me, but it was quite a nice letter that the team received from you know, the staff and pupils at the school, and it just highlights the good work that DG First do. Happy to take any questions.
Councillor Dryburgh.
Thanks, Chair. There will be on occasions members of the public where you can't sort of placate and you know, solve the complaints properly. How do you then deal with that when you get, you know, let's say for instance the bin man hasn't come up because it's been a winter's day, it's been unsafe to take the wagon up, and they just keep on complaining and they don't accept your, you know, response to that. How do you deal with that then?
I think it's going back to getting the point of complaint correct. You know, I think in the past we've been bad at not actually pinpointing what the problem is and dealing with the problem. We do that now. We speak to them. We even go out and meet them face to face. You know, one of the supervisors, foreman or whoever will actually go out and speak to them. And I think that's that's the local resolution that you need to get. Because you're right, there are some individuals where, you know, over the phone it won't work, but face to face it does.
Councillor McCutcheon.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just ask, you said about the compliments and the complaints there. Obviously the complaints is something that we usually hear more of than we do anything else. I was just wondering, the compliments, whereabouts are they in the public domain? Are we able to process them so that folk can see the good as well as the negative?
Yeah. Coming back through you, Chair. We have a system called Respond, which logs our complaints and compliments, and annual performance report is put up to committee that highlights how many complaints and compliments we've had, not just for DG First, but Dumfries and Galloway Council as a whole. So, the detail is there of complaints and compliments. Because you're right, we seem to home in on the complaints and not the actual good work that's done out there.
Councillor Hislop.
Chair, I think it also comes down, if you look at the sort of satisfaction surveys that you do. Now, I'm not sure when the next one will be due or if there's just been one, but that usually comes out at high levels of satisfaction. And I think what you take from that, plus the compliments, is that we have a good service. Yes, there'll be glitches. With 100 and odd you said that were here. It is a frontline service. You're reliant on staff who may be ill or a vehicle that might break down or something. So there's bound to be things like that. So I think actually the survey plus the compliments and complaints show that the staff are working really well and they're striving to make Dumfries and Galloway the best place to live, learn, die, whatever they say. Can't remember the full thing, but I think we are working. We are doing a good job, and I think this clearly shows it.
Thank you. Just a quick question. I understand the children at the school performed a song to the Clacker Works to display their thanks. What was that about?
It was on the building services, the day we got the compliment, the head teacher, the building service manager that was looking after the job was sort of pulled into the school at the assembly, and the kids then sang a little song thanking them for all their help, and the letter basically was on the back of that, how the team had worked with the school, how they'd helped to keep the place safe, tidy and everything else, minimise the disruption to the school. And that's the kind of stuff that we tried to convey to the guys out on the ground, because they're always seeing it in the papers, all the negativity against them, your bins not being lifted or your potholes or whatever else. But as Councillor Hislop says, the vast majority of the staff strive to do a really good job for this council, and they don't often get the compliments, and we really do make an effort. When we do get a compliment through, we feed it down to the guys, because it is that little bit of worth and reward that they get.
I'll read it out. It come from the head teacher at Lochside School. I just wanted to send you a quick email to say thank you for ensuring that the building work which has been undertaken here at Lochside Primary had been managed so effectively. The site manager, Jim, has been an absolute pleasure to work with. He has always been totally professional, ensured that there was a minimal disruption to the working life of the school. His team under his direction have been a pleasure to work alongside, and I can only commend him for his dedication and commitment to seeing this project, though finding solutions to issues that were raised during the construction, as well as always being a friendly and approachable person to work alongside. The school is looking fantastic, and the children and staff here are excited about now getting access to our new facilities. Again, many thanks. Jeanette Henderson, head teacher, Lochside Primary School.
Well, I think that's excellent. Councillor Dryburgh, you want to come in?
Yeah, can I compliment the staff on filling in my sponsorship form for this thing in a commemoration?
Councillor McCutcheon.
Thank you, Chair. As I said earlier on when we were talking, when he was getting his presentation, I'm extremely lucky I've been able to get out with some of the boys and their jobs. But and this is just for my own personal thing. As a councillor, and still a very new one yet, I find it very important to make a judgment somewhere that we need to have an understanding of it. And that's why I've chosen to go out with these different areas, and I hope to continue going on. My bins is the binions is the next year I would like to go out if the boys are quite happy with that. But I think because I'm making a judgment on something when my constituencies come to me and I've no understanding of it and I don't know what these boys do or the lasses do. So I think it's important. I know some other councils have done it, but I think it's important that if we get a chance so that we all take it up so that we are able to make this judgment and see exactly what they're doing for ourselves rather than listening to the rags that we call papers.
Do you want to come in there, Ronnie?
Yeah, Chair, if I can through you, I know all of the team within DG First would welcome any of the DG First Management Committee. If you want to come, see what we do, meet the guys, go down the workshops, go down to wherever, we're more than happy to have you come along. It's an open door because it is the only way that we can get rid of some of the myths and ghosts of what people believe we do. And you know, the guys are the bin men. They are professional. They see themselves as that. They've got a pride in that, and I'm always willing and to encourage people to come in and see what they do. So feel free.
Thanks for that. I mean, I have to personally say that I was a bit disappointed that the lack of snow we've had because I've not really had the chance to get out in one of the spreaders this year. So I might have to wait till next year for that. Anyhow. I've heard tales of the white knuckle ride there, Councillor Driver. Okay, well, with that, just thank you, James. And, Councillor Crothers, do you want it back in?
Just in regards to the complaints process and how it works, because just to get a better understanding, see if someone was to raise an issue with a bin, say somebody phones up and says, listen, my bin hasn't been lifted. Is that a complaint, or if somebody raises an issue with a pothole, is that a complaint? Because you'd have thought, no, in the first instance it wouldn't have been hit, so how does it get from that point to progress towards a complaint?
No, you're absolutely right. It's an operational matter. First time bin not lifted, operational matter, we would rectify that, same with a pothole. But it's when it's the second, third time, that's when it becomes a complaint, that's when it's a service failure. We haven't rectified it.
So in like the case study you put forward, when it came at the second and third day, it was then brought to your attention and it was obvious something that needed to be dealt with through the complaints process. Okay, thanks.
Okay, right, that's grand. Thanks very much, James. And then up next, we've got the new DG First 5-minute blogs. So if I could ask the head of department to explain a bit of background to these blogs and DG First Extended Management Team meetings, and then we can hear from the two services. Technical services, vehicle maintenance and building services, is that right?
Thank you, Chair. At the background of DG First, it's a big organisation, and periodically we have what's called extended management teams when all the various segments of the organisation come together. And one of the reasons at the last one we invited the chief to come along to get a flavour of what we do. Now, you might say, well, everybody knows what DG First do, but it's surprising, even across all the services within DG First, the numbers of elements don't really know what other bits are doing. So I created these, what was called the 5-minute blogs. We did this for the first time, which we felt was beneficial. Some of the blogs ran on a bit longer than others, but again, it was a great opportunity for everything from the STARS team to a new member of the admin team to convey what they did and spread the word. Chief was very impressed with these at the time and suggested that perhaps this would be something that would be beneficial just to give an insight into some other parts of the organisation of DG First to the Management Committee to broaden your knowledge of what we do and why we do it. So I discussed it with the chair and we brought forward a couple. We brought forward our vehicle maintenance and our building services teams. So first up is Stephen Trotter, who is my building services service manager. We have two. We have Stephen looks after what I would class as the big construction items, and his colleague Wallace, who manages Shane and looks after the what I would class as the repairs and maintenance business that we have with urban housing, Lorburn housing, and the day-to-day repairs and activity works that we do for the council. And a prime example is we stopped the kitchen repairs next door today, which we're doing to allow this committee to go ahead without the banging of hammers and everything else in there. So Stephen runs the construction side, so I'll let Stephen do a general overview, but I've got two service managers within the building services, both intrinsically linked but have different facets of their activity. So one deals with the big stuff, the other one deals with keeping the day-to-day activity going. So I'll let Stephen do his piece, and then I'll do the introduction to Gordon, who is our vehicle maintenance manager.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. Building services, as we've already heard today, I've got our apprentice who went through the Apprentice of the Year Awards as runner-up again this year. This is the 4th year running we've attended that award ceremony. 4 years ago we got first place, last year we got second place, and again we've had runner-up. So again, it shows our commitment to the young people of the region around here, which we're very proud of. We deal primarily with two RSAs, Ls, which we have partnerships with. One, Lorburn Housing, who our current KPI is running at 99% with them. But going on the back of what we've just spoken about there, we do tenant satisfaction surveys with Lorburn, which is currently running at 100%. So we're providing the service that they want at the level that the tenants deserve. The same goes with Irvine Housing. Our KPI with Irvine Housing is 100%. I think we're in our first year of our partnership with them, which was we successfully tendered obviously a year, 18 months ago. We've now got a 5-year partnership with these guys, which is going forward, and they are now getting the service that they deserve as well. The council itself has invested a significant sum of money over the last number of years in what they're calling planned preventative maintenance. Up until the point of basically today, we've spent over £800,000 through the council, either with ourselves or with local businesses, maintaining council buildings across the whole region, which, quite frankly, has been sorely needed. The buildings are now getting brought up to a standard, and they're now being maintained to a standard. We have, with the split of the fire and rescue services and the police, had a number of issues with that potential work going out of the region because it's one service. We have now realised the fact we've got an agreement for 18 fire stations where we are going to maintain them, we're going to remodel them, and we're going to work with the fire and rescue service. We're currently going through the same process with the police service, hopefully to get the same level of service with these guys. On the sort of what we'll call the construction side of the business, we've pre-qualified with Lorburn Housing to build 3 new schemes for them. We're basically waiting on them now coming out with tender documents to allow us to take that forward. Hopefully we can pick up a new construction project and take the council back into building houses for landlords. Obviously it will be a tendering process out in the open market again, but then we can only see how that one goes. As you heard, we've had a successful completion. There was actually 2 new facilities at Lochside Primary School. There was a new learning plaza there, and a new lift was installed on the outside of the building, which now makes that school fully accessible. The Zero Waste project, which we're currently involved in, the main depot up in Stranraer is coming to near completion. The other depots are either in the fully planning stages or in active progress on site. They are progressing to the programmes laid down by our clients. I don't know if any of you have seen the new Arundel Academy building that's getting clad. It's currently halfway through about a £3 million refurbishment down there. The main building, as you see it, it has been half curtain walled at the minute. Most of that building will be completely rewired and brought up to a standard that's fit for that school at this stage. Currently, we are working away with a trading service which is not immune to the budget pressures that are getting spread around about. Everybody else is, having not hold a budget, we're relying on everyone else's budgets. So in effect, we're having to deal closely with our partner organisations, DG Design, Properties, P&E, to see how we can progress this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Do you want to come in on the next one?
I can, Chair. Chair, just picking up on a couple of the bits and pieces there. The Zero Waste project, as I said, the Stranraer side one is pretty well getting towards conclusion. with our, if you want to call it our client. We are going to propose that in the not too distant future we'll make arrangements if members wish to come and view these facilities. We'll arrange that with our client, with our colleagues in P&E to take people down, show them round, and also give advance sight of what's going to happen on the Lockerbie Road, just next to the Ecodeco plant, which obviously is going to be a major construction project down there as well. And just touching on the Lorban housing, you know, I've just got our latest stats in again, so the stats are sitting there consistently at a very high level. And when we see what the competitors with some of these other housing associations have, some major players in the market who cannot get anywhere near that level of satisfaction, it comes back to the earlier comments that our guys, you know, they're the council guys, but these council guys have got a real pride and a real passion in what they do. And it's clear through the working arrangements, particularly with Lorban and Irving, that they are very keen to keep us there because there is nobody else that can hit that level of satisfaction. So a really good news story. Building services, you know, it's there, we do it. These two guys work exceedingly hard all hours of the day and night. And very proud of these guys in technical services, so thank you. The second one, again, I'd like to introduce is our, again, vehicle maintenance manager, Gordon Bryce. Gordon manages, again, it's a bit of these sort of forgotten service in some respects. There's lots of council vehicles out there and we maintain things, we maintain lots of other bits and pieces of kit and plant. Gordon and his team have maintained a substantial fleet on behalf of the council. Again, another very good service, meeting a lot of challenges, but I'll let Gordon go through his blog.
Good afternoon. My introductory slide that I've got there, it's quite an old slide, and you can see fire appliances are still on there, and I've left them on there deliberately because hopefully they'll see sense and come back to us. They must be spending a fortune in logistic costs running their vehicles up to Cumbernauld, but there you go, quite confident that we'll get them back. There we go. We've got 5 strategically placed workshops across the region, gone for Lockerbie across to Stranraer. 7-year-old is the oldest workshop that we've got, with the exception in Newton Stewart and Barnkirk, which we recently refurbished, which was involved sort of filling in the pits and putting new sill lifts in and mobile lifts, which improves the working environment, saves a lot of bending for the men. They're working at the height that they choose, if you like, on the vehicle. So we spent a fair bit of money modernising that depot, and let's say the oldest one after that's about 7-year-old. The facility we've got in Dumfries, I would go so far to say that it's definitely within the best of the top 5 workshops anywhere in Scotland. And I've been in Scanie, DAF, Mercedes, a lot of commercial workshops across the Central Belt, which don't really come close to what we've got. So we have got an excellent facility. The other 4 sort of satellite depots of that and very much mirror the facility. So excellent facilities across the region. We have a service here, about 26 technical staff, including myself, which we cover all, sort of, am I right in saying 4,000 square metres in Dumfries and Galloway, roughly, 24/7. So wherever our services are, wherever there's a vehicle, a piece of plant, a grass cutter, we cover that throughout the year, every day, all year. We maintain a fleet roughly in assets, about 1,400 pieces of equipment for plant, cars, vans, HGVs, gritters, skirts, you name it, but we've brought everything in-house. There's nothing that we can't maintain. We've got hundreds of years worth of experience within the staff that we have in our workshops, as well as an increasing amount of external customers. To give you an idea of what we do for them, it's Network Rail, Scottish Water, Scottish Power, Chubb. We've got our external client base is sort of expanding. We are a commissioned service. The top two I've got on there is what we're commission KPI, well, the PIs are our main ones, which is vehicles serviced on time. Our target 95%. The target is that because you'll never have 100% because you've always got breakdowns, you've always got major repairs, you've always got a service that doesn't show because of the operational requirements. MOT pass rate, we're sitting currently at 98%. By the end of the year that'll drop to 97 because we had a failure a couple of weeks ago, but the national average is 76%. So even at 97%, that's an excellent pass rate. And to get 100%, well, it's nearly unheard of. I've had it once in all the years I've worked in workshops, and I still believe it's a fluke because you always have a blown bulb, you always have something that goes on test, or a pipe that goes. There's always something that brings your percentage down. One of the things, the rest are sort of things that's in the pipeline we're working with at the moment. Total Mobile is a software package that's now the council platform or the basis for our IT side of stuff, which will bring us out the dark ages as far as our purchase ledger systems go, monitoring our productivity, booking our workload, seeing exactly what our engineers are doing and where they're doing it. It'll also feed back our sort of maintenance spend, so we can look at monthly accounting, which helps Carline forecast what we're going to spend. It'll really take a lot of the antiquated systems, the paper-based systems that we're still working with, out the equation and give us a more open book view of the service and how better to manage it. One link system, what that is, it's a nationwide network, if you like, of repairers which commercial companies link into. Because we're based for the sort of the M74 right through to the main Euro corridor, if you like, our workshops are ideal to pick up work for all different commercial companies. Going on this one link system will just open us up to that new business and hopefully generate a bit of revenue. We have the capacity within the workshops, and like I say, we've got excellent facilities, so we're better utilising them. That's just one of the ways that we can do that. Car wash project is something that Ronnie and I started working with, and it's aimed at benefiting the more vulnerable members of our community, and very much used as a training project to get people in, to give them a wee bit of education and work ethic and sort of life skills, a wee bit first aid training. And what we're going to do is set up a valeting car wash at Cargan Bridge, offer it to staff 3 days a week. We'll have a full-time member of staff managing and supervising the lucky candidates that win their positions. But we hope to carry that on sort of every 6 and 12 months, gain different people the experience and hopefully gain something out of it and move on. So that's the idea. Hopefully within the next month and a half that'll be up and running. So. MOT facility, we're looking at a business case for that at the moment. We would really benefit within marine fleet. I mean, it's just the size of our own fleet, the logistical costs of running vehicles back and forward across the town up to Lockerbie, diesel, manpower. We would really benefit from having a Class 7 facility in our workshop in Dumfries. Then looking at expanding it out to our external client base, bringing taxi testing in-house. You know, we could really do a lot with an MOT facility that would benefit DG First and the council. Apprenticeship programme, again, something that very passionate about having a good, solid apprenticeship programme running. About half a dozen of our fully qualified staff at the moment are homegrown. The benefits of having homegrown staff are loyalty for one. They have a good core knowledge of the operations that run within the council. They have a good knowledge of the varied fleet that we run, which is very different for your normal haulage or equipment that you've got running through your solid aft and your other commercial workshops. So it's a very skilled workforce, and it's very difficult to get a hold of them for the street. So growing your own is the way ahead as far as I'm concerned. We take on 6 just at the end of last year. So we're very keen to follow that through. IRT accreditation is, again, industry-based standard of workshop practices, how we invest in our staff, how we deal with the day-to-day running of the workshops. It's an FDA accredited, it's based very much on quality and health and safety on all the processes within the workshop. But what basically happens is the FDA come out, audit you over a couple of days, and then you work towards this accreditation, which again helps us gain external work, and it proves that we do what we say in the tin, basically. And that's me, if there's any questions.
Thanks very much, Gordon. I wasn't too sure what to expect with the 5-minute vlogs until I'd actually sort of seen them for myself, so I guess, I mean, we've got Stephen and Gordon both here who can take questions if there are any, and I guess it touches on what Councillor McCutcheon was saying earlier about just getting a better understanding of what the range and scope of work and the various levels of work that goes on with DG First, because it is a big part of what the Council does. So if there's any questions, Councillor Dryburgh?
Not so much a question, Chair. It's and I think these 5-minute blogs are ideal things for within departments. Probably a better idea out with the departments, because the amazing amount of people in the council don't know what their colleagues actually do in different departments. I mean, I've had, you know, arguments from community and customer services about what DG First actually do, you know, and just because they don't know exactly what DG First do, we've seen today the wide variety of different things that DG First actually do. I think it would be an ideal opportunity to somehow spread it across the different departments to what each department. I mean, it doesn't just have to come from DG First. It could come from community customer services to DG First to understand, you know, and the PHE side of things as well. I think 5-minute blogs are an ideal thing, even if it's just a quick PowerPoint presentation like that particular thing.
Thanks very much for that. Is there any other comments or questions? Councillor Carruthers?
Thanks, Chairman. I suppose it comes back to the previous blog as well, if that's what we're calling it, presentation. Just picking up for there first, we looked at lower burn and urban housing, 100% and 99% with the KPIs. Just how does that compare to the services we deliver across the council? How was that? I mean, great doing it for external, but sometimes we criticise, so I'd just like to put that into context in regards to that. You also spoke about pre-qualification. Was that in regards to pre-qualifying questionnaires and moving forward a contract? Didn't get into any of the detail, not looking for fine detail, but detail of what the actual work we're undertaking with Lower Burn. Because when they face it, you think we're going into construction, new builds, looks like we've got to build new houses, but I take it it's a maintenance thereafter. But maybe you could just qualify that. It's right, we do have excellent facilities across in regards to our vehicle maintenance across the whole of the region. I wonder how do we compare, and they're probably touching on it actually as we went through the actual presentation, how do we compare in our productivity compared to the private sector? I mean, actually they're the second to none. I've seen it myself, I've seen it firsthand, and Marion's referred to it on quite a few occasions. It is good to get in, see how they work, and it is first class, and we don't promote that. But and as far as that as well, sometimes we can be criticised, and as far as potentially being state aid, I suppose is a simple way to put it. Are we propping up our service in regards with public sector money? So just to touch on that as well, because I've asked these types of questions before, but just for reassurances on the back of the presentation.
Through you, Chair, if I can. In relation to the stats for building services, we treat the council's business in the same positive vein as the private sector business, if you want to call it, for Lower Burn housing. We will apply the same principles, the same ethos to tackle it first time right, in the same as we would do for Lower Burn. So the stats are similar right across what we do for education, what we do cleaning the gutters out. If we get an order, the team prioritise it on the same basis, because it's very much the makeup of the service is around routine work, planned work and emergency work. So if an emergency come in, we will treat that emergency the same as we would treat an emergency for a Irvine or Lorburn. So the assurance is there as far as the council goes. Building services is a sub-element of DG First. It will deliver the same quality service to the council or to Lorburn and achieve the same level of commitment. In relation to the pre-qualifications that we've came to this committee for was for permission to enter into a tendering process for construction for properties for our some of our key partners. We do new construction. We have built BTEC Primary School. We have built the Fire and Rescue Centre. All of these type activities are tender-based that we go through and can prove value. It was touched on that the Fire and Rescue Service are now asking us to look after some of their properties. They've now asked us, because of the values of the rates and the commitment that we've given them to service, have now asked us to go into the Ayrshires and into the Lanarkshires to look at their properties up there to deliver options on their buildings, because we can do it at a price that's all part of this, because this runs as a trading service. It's not a budgeted service, it's a trading service that works. So we need to have a fine balance between council workload plus private sector workload. We do it with a mixed economy of our own people. It's a very small team because obviously, sadly, this service went through some fairly hard times over the years with the stock transfer, the DGHP contract, etc. It's a small core team of our own employees, but our commitment and our drive is to use local suppliers, local contractors to aid and help the economy. So we don't look at this as being, this has to all be done by DG First employees. We help the local economy by having local contractors working with us, because it's good for them. They know they've got surety of income coming from us. When their bills come through, they get paid. They're not being held for 30, 60, 90 days before. So we've taken a positive ethos to deliver a building service utilising, as I say, a mixed economy of contractors and local people to do that. In relation to the vehicle maintenance, it's very much the same. We've got a core fleet that we maintain, but we need to supplement that with additional income. You know, we've got Cargan Tower with its big workshops. We need to have a throughput there. And how do we compare with the open market? Well, when you've got companies like Scottish Water, Network Rail, big blue chip companies coming to us for that type of business, and when you get the AA coming to us to have their vehicles serviced, it speaks volumes. So we are doing it at the right price. We are providing a service. I think, as Gordon said, the Fire and Rescue Service, I think, will see sense and will come back to us, because they're already talking and looking at the rates that we're offering, and those rates are below what other markets are, and quite considerably so. And I'm not saying we're undercutting anything, but we've got a realistic price based around the people we use and the facilities we have. But it's clear that we're nicely positioned in the market to have a lot of business coming to the council that will benefit us and supplement us supporting our own fleet that serves Dumfries and Galloway. So hopefully that gives you where we are in the service.
It does pretty much. I think it was touched on in the presentation in regards to the vehicle service areas or garages, whatever we want to call them, that they're well positioned along the A75, and it lends to that in regards to bringing in workload. See, just going back to the new construction build, it sounded like you did say we are actually going into building houses and we're looking to do that. Just that Lorburn have had a preferred bidder, you could say, a preferred contractor for years and years and years. Is that running in conflict with that, or how does that work? Have they given them up, or just, and if we are, I know many times we've seen it, whether it's through I think we're the fourth best in Scotland in regards to affecting our local government spend and having best effect on the local economy. So I've got no questions or gripes over that whatsoever. We're always constantly using local contractors and so on and so forth. But It just, I knew they have used the same house builder for years, the same contractor, so is that coming to an end, or what's happened with that?
I think it's fair to say any works that we, DG First, Dumfries and Galloway Council, would go for, we go through the national procurement process. I can't give comment on whether the Lorburn or Everton or whoever have moved away from any preferred bidders. All we do is, when an appropriate piece of work comes to our knowledge through the procurement process, we will look at it, and we will seek governance and come through the due to go and to tender for that, and that's what we've done. So we followed that process. Whether Lorburn are moving away out of their previous arrangement, I couldn't give comment, but I know what we do is, through Procurement Scotland, submit our pre-qualification, which you'll well know is down about quality, health and safety, and all your procedural. And if we can then clear the threshold to get onto the tender list, then we will be allowed to tender, and those tenders will hopefully be forthcoming during this part of the year.
Well, thanks very much for that reassurance, Ronnie. With that, I mean, I don't have any other. Oh, it's all right, Councillor Collins.
Thank you. Just insofar as the workshops are concerned, Ronnie, surely if you're looking for that kind of recovery type work, is essentially where we're going in that regard, like Gordon was speaking about, you need then to be considering or looking at some sort of shift pattern around the workshop to be able to respond to that sort of marketplace. What's the thinking in that regard?
You're quite right. You know, to maximise the facility could require the council to look at different ways, different means of operation. We already, Gordon and his team already cover an out of hour service for pool cars. You know, if a council employee tonight, whether it be a home carer or a social worker, if they're in a council vehicle tonight, there's a breakdown, they have the comfort that the response will be dealt with by a vehicle maintenance member of staff who will go out and deal with that. So they're on call, they're there. When we say we're talking about into this picking up business through breakdown, this model is where companies that perhaps travel, you know, there's a breakdown, you can link into it. It's not so much us sitting there with a big breakdown truck hanging, waiting to go and find the business. What we're looking at is a model of operation with like-minded companies that if they have an issue or a problem with a vehicle that's in this neck of the woods, they know then there is a repair body that can facilitate that repair if they so need it. So if there was a driver, Arctic, travelling the 75 that has a breakdown, if they're part of that link, they have an issue, we can respond to that for them, and we know that we can get our recovery of costs, they get their service, and they've got surety that their driver's dealing with somebody that they know. So it's that type of business. And if we can pick up supplementary business, you know, Scotland Transerve is a prime example. Just now, we do all their trunk road activity, as you well know. They're now wanting, because of our facilities and the rates that we're offering them, they're wanting to bring their fleet down there. So we're now maintaining their gritters that they give us for the winter, but they're also now looking at other equipment and vehicles that would be coming to us as well on the back of that. So at some point in time, again, we will be looking at what the service is and how best we can deliver it. And after, if that means looking at how we provide services to our clients and customers, if that means a different working pattern, then that's something that we'd look into in consultation with the workforce and trade unions to maximise the gain. But it would have to be done at an appropriate time. And at the moment, what we've got within the service, we can deliver with. But it's something that we're looking at, and I suppose monitoring to see how the market's going to go.
Councillor Hislop.
We've got the benefit just now in the building maintenance of the planned preventative maintenance that we're doing. Now, my understanding that's a sort of consequence of revenue savings on the capital budget. Now, last week we agreed a change in the capital budget going forward, of an indicative that we would look to see a reduction in the amount of free revenue there. A lot of the work that will come through in the future will be through the South West Hub. Are we bidding in, or are we able to bid into South West Hub companies to do some of that work to pick up what might be a reduction in the planned preventative maintenance? And one for the roads, traffic, transport, capacity to do additional work. Now, are we targeting the likes of our Scottish Water and bringing money into the area from, you know, if their vans are in the Lanarkshires, the Ayrshires, the Borders, and they're coming in to do the work, or are we just shuffling the seats in the yeah, on the seashore? I'm not going to say it's sinking. It's a good service. It's going in the right direction. He's wanting it sinking, no. Because, you know, there's only so much work in Dumfries and Galloway. Are we getting that additional capacity coming from elsewhere? And could you pass the number for the car valeting, please?
Through you, Chair, I think the simple answer to both questions is yes. Yes, we are already speaking at and about the hub to ensure that our service is included in that. The NHS are talking to us about wanting us to look at building opportunities. So we take these two guys take a very proactive approach in maintaining the business, because they've got a tremendous business ethic and are constantly looking to secure and develop and expand the service. So yes is the answer to that one. In relation to bringing in the capacity and bringing other money in, the answer is yes. These companies are bringing their stuff to us. It's not as if we're just, you know, shuffling it from Lockerbie to here. No, this is equipment that these organisations are bringing into Dumfries and Galloway, and so the pound is coming into Dumfries and Galloway and to this council.
There was just a quick question I had. It was touched on in the presentation about the use of Total Mobile, which obviously, from a sort of trading point of view, or for tendering for business in that sense, might be a great asset to have the use of in terms of stock inventory, sort of real time, kind of taking account of situations, etc. But there'd be a sort of wider benefit, obviously, maybe council wide. And I'm just wondering, you know, is there an opportunity there where you're actually getting a benefit from a Total Mobile system that can then translate across the whole of the council? You know, is there an IT sort of system benefit to that?
I like all these questions that are yes. Simple answer again is yes. Total Mobile is already, DG First has for several years been pushing forward with Total Mobile in the building service, in vehicle maintenance, the road service. The building services guys now have the tablets, they get their work orders, they get all their information, they job cost it all through that. It's streamlining that process. The vehicle maintenance is the same. Just now, as Gordon touched on, it's a very long-winded process from a mechanic, a technician doing work on a vehicle, has then got to have all this paperwork, and he stands laboriously pumping that into a PC to create a job card. What he will have is a tablet sitting on the top of his toolbox and says, vehicle XY, whatever, has used this piece of part, this piece of oil, this piece of that, hits these buttons, bang, moves on to his next job order, appears on his... The efficiencies are there, and Total Mobile is a council-wide system now, not only in our services, but it's been picked up by others with, you know, environmental health, and all these ones can link into it. Our facilities management team, they're moving on to use a model of Total Mobile. Our home care staff, and all these can link into that if that's the direction of travel. So it's a tool that is driving the efficiencies within our service and helping DG First, but really to be at the cutting edge of the technology we're using.
Thank you. Any further questions? Right, well, I think that's been a thoroughly diverse committee, although there's a few items of actual business to discuss. But thanks all for turning up, and congratulations again on your award today. And that's it. End of business. Thank you.